I did have one question from a resident who lives in Walthamstow, and she wanted to know how can Walthamstow possibly compete as an Olympic borough, and she wants to know why people are going to come to shop in Walthamstow when they're building a brand new Westfield in Stratford.
And I think that's a very fair point. You know, we have to make Walthamstow unique. I don't want us to be trying to be another Stratford or another Wood Green, because we've got our own unique resources here. We've got really good transport links, we've got some really lovely open spaces, we've got great community resources, great voluntary organisations, and we've got some really interesting architecture, and we've got a great community here. I mean, a lot of people come to Walthamstow with their families and they commit to staying here. So the question for us is, how can we attract the businesses and the jobs that fit in with that, rather than trying to repeat what other people do? And your listeners absolutely right to say we don't want to be like other people, we need to find what works for us, and that's the challenge in the next couple of years, and that's what I'm going to work with local businesses on, also with the local council and with local residents, because it has to work for us. I mean, we're the ones who live here.
I saw in your parliamentary speech recently that you spoke up about how they're cutting budget for universities, and how do you think that's going to affect people in Walthamstow?
Look, I'm really worried. I've worked with young people in this borough for many years, and I've seen the difference. I've seen the change in attitude, frankly, from young people who weren't even thinking about going on to sixth form to young people looking at doing further in higher education. I think that's brilliant. You know, I know our young people in Walthamstow are so talented, they're so creative, they're so sarky and so cheeky, and they need those opportunities, and they need people to fight for those opportunities. You know, with all the young people I work with, I always say to them, I'll meet you halfway. If you put the effort in, I will fight for you to get the education and the support and the training opportunities that you need. Now, clearly that's going to be very difficult to do when this new government is cutting all the schemes that are providing those opportunities. So whether it's the Future Jobs Fund, you know, there are lots of young people around Walthamstow who've got the first step on their career ladder as a result of the Future Jobs Fund. You can't underestimate how important that is for people to start getting the work experience they need, to start getting the training and the opportunities to be the kind of jobs they want to do. It's the same with cutting the university places, because we know the evidence shows us over the last 13 years it's kids in places like Walthamstow who've taken those additional places. So when this government talks about cutting them, it's kids in places like Walthamstow who are going to be the first to not get that opportunity. And I'm determined to push them to say, actually, you say you care about social mobility, you say you care about social justice. That doesn't seem very just to me. Restricting all those opportunities to people who can afford to pay rather than the people who have the ability just doesn't seem fair.
So Stella, one thing that we ask all of our guests to do on Whips Cross Hospital Radio is to request a song. So do you have a song that you'd like us to play for you?
Yeah, I'd love you to play Brass in Pocket by the Pretenders, which is a favourite song of my mum, and it always reminds me of my childhood and her playing it in her car and me singing along with her, so it's a very special song to me.
Got brass in pocket, gunpowder, I'm gonna use it.
Moving on to some more light-hearted sort of trivia questions, just about the borough and about what you do to relax. So, what's your favourite thing about the borough?
Oh, I love the people here, because I mean, I love Walthamstow and the fact that people are really friendly, that it is the kind of place where you can spot the people from Walthamstow, I always think, on the tube late at night, because we're all standing at the end of the tube to be in the last carriage to get home. And I find now I get on the tube, I often see people I know, and I end up holding advice surgeries in the tube. I don't think there's anywhere else in London that's quite like it. I mean, that's why I'm so passionate about it, that people do actually care about their neighbours, they do actually care about the streets, and they put their money where their mouth is. So we have lots of really great voluntary and community groups here, because actually people in Walthamstow do care about where they live and they do care about each other. I've never come across anywhere like it, and that's why I love it so much. That's why I stayed, and that's why my whole family's here now.
So when you have time off, those rare sort of golden nuggets of time, what do you like to do to relax?
Well, both me and my boyfriend we're big cinema fans. We don't get to go as much as I used to go, I'm afraid, but and we also like to go and meet our friends, just have a gossip, just relax. I mean, it is quite difficult at the moment with my new job to find time to do that, but I know it's really important, and I know people in Walthamstow don't want a frazzled MP. So I also like to go, and I go to the gym quite a lot. I like to keep exercise, try and keep healthy, because obviously keeping my strength up is really important in this role as well. And also there are lots and lots of lovely community events around here. I have to say I'm a big aficionado of cake, so I have to go to the gym a lot as well, and I love going and finding new places in Walthamstow to sit and have a natter with people and find some nice cake and tea.
Oh, lovely. Sounds really nice. So you said you love going to the cinema. What was the last film that you saw?
Well, I probably shouldn't admit this, because actually I didn't, and I have to say my boyfriend didn't know I was going to see this, and I went with some girlfriends. We went to see Sex and the City 2. I have to say it's one of the worst films I've seen in a long time, and I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, me and my friends were just saying, we will never speak of the fact that we came to see this film and paid money to see it, so it was really, really bad.
Do you have any pets?
I have 2 pets. I have 2 cats, both rescue cats from the Celia Hammond Action Trust. One is called Brittany and the other one's called Asbo.
Have you ever been to Whipps Cross Hospital?
Yes, I have. I haven't been admitted myself as a patient, but members of my family have, and they've been treated there, and it was fantastic. And it's why I'm so passionate about healthcare, because particularly one of the things I was campaigning on during the election was about the cancer pledge and the importance of people getting speedy diagnosis and speedy access to treatment. Again, it's one of the things I'm a bit worried about now with the new government. We'll have to see what they're going to do on these issues, but I know it made a real difference to my family, and that treatment was at Whipps Cross, and I will always be grateful for it.
And was you aware that Whipps Cross had its very own radio station?
Yes, because I came and did an interview during the election, which was great. I found the little cubbyhole where you're all based. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, they keep us down in the basement. What can we do to cut Walthamstow's carbon footprint?
It's a really good question. I mean, I've been working with a number of community groups and local residents who are also concerned about this, because actually it's not something that government can do for us. We all have to change the way in which we live to make sure we live in a more sustainable way. So whether that's using your car less, turning off the tap when you're brushing your teeth, recycling more, or just not, or even growing your own vegetables and things like that. So we've been all working together to look at what we can do to make that easier, because nobody wants to live in a sackcloth. But equally, if we all change our behaviours in just a little way, we can make a really big difference. So we have a group that meets at the Rose and Crown pub in Walthamstow that's looking at all these different ideas and lobbying the local authority and lobbying government for the help and support we need to do that. And if people want to join that, that would be brilliant, because the more people who get involved, the more we can spread the word about all the really simple, easy things that we can do that added up will make a big difference to cutting the carbon footprint of Walthamstow.
And I guess we're lucky in Walthamstow because, like you mentioned before, we have got excellent bus and rail links. I mean, this is obviously all going to help, and obviously cycling and walking. Do you cycle?
I do. In fact, I don't have a driver's licence, so I have to cycle everywhere, which is why I'm really passionate about making sure that we have good cycle routes. And in fact, there are some in the borough that are a problem. We have a really good Waltham Forest cycling campaign that's lobbying about changing some of those because, for example, the Mark House Road is actually quite dangerous now to cycle along. And clearly, if we all commit to cycling or walking more, then we also need the local council to make sure the roads are safer and easier places to do that. So it's about a partnership between those different organisations.
If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, there's a number of ways that people can get in touch with me, and also if they want to book an appointment for an advice surgery, which I hold on a weekly basis. First and foremost, I have an email which is stella@workingforwalthamstow.org.uk, and that's for spelt FOR. They can also call my office to make an appointment, which is 0208 520 6586. Or they can go to my website, which is www.workingforwalthamstow.org.uk, and they can contact me through that. I also publish every week a weekly e-newsletter which tells you what I'm doing and all the information I find out about Walthamstow. So if people want to receive that, they should just email me again at stella@workingforwalthamstow.org.uk. And also that tells you where my advice surgeries are and how to book an appointment. I would just want to be clear that my advice surgeries, because I make sure that they're private and that we're able to support people who have a lot of different issues they want to raise with me, people do need to book into them. But the e-newsletter also tells you about all the community events I'm going to go to, and I'm always happy to have a chat with people, especially if there's cake involved.
Well, thank you for letting me speak to you today, Stella, and good luck with everything.
Thank you, Kerry. It's been lovely.